Hey all, Pete here. Doing my second video on trapline safety. This one's on land trapping. Um, some of this is going to be total common sense stuff. If you're a trapper or you're a hunter and you're getting into trapping, you're going to know a lot of this stuff already. But everything I'm going to share with you in this safety video is because it's affected me somehow out land trapping or predator calling. Okay. So safety on land, first and foremost, again, cold emergencies, hypothermia. You got to stay warm. Now you could have heat emergencies too. In October when I start trapping here, it's still pretty warm. And so I got to stay hydrated because, we still have really warm days in October. But so staying hydrated is how you beat heat emergencies. It's pretty simple. Cold emergencies are a little more insidious. You start to have a problem with getting too cold. It's not always as obvious. You might be shivering and shaking, and then all of a sudden you're feeling fine. You're in a dangerous place at that point. Your body's starting to shut down. So the best advice I can give you for avoiding things like hypothermia is to stay warm. So don't wear cotton and canvas and that kind of shit. Wool is still, in my opinion, the best thing you can wear, or at least some kind of wool hybrid. Wool will insulate even when it's wet, and I'm a big believer in wool. There's some fleeces that are good. There's some Gore-Tex materials and stuff that are good as well. But, dress in layers, dress for the weather, and always be prepared for the weather to get worse with your clothing. So that's the first thing, is avoiding heat emergencies. Or cold emergencies. And I know when you're trapping, it's hard because you might be freezing, but then you get out to make a set and you're burning up, and then you're freezing again, and it's not a big deal if you're driving set to set, but if you're hiking, like in some of the places I trap, it can be a pain in the butt because you're freezing, and then you start hiking, then you're burning up, so you're shedding stuff, and then you're setting a trap and you're burning up and you're shedding more stuff, and then pretty soon you're stripped clear down, but you don't realize you're stripped clear down and it's 20 degrees, but you're hot because you're working. Just got to be aware of that. Have layers so that you can adjust as you need to. And if you do get caught out in a storm or something, don't be wearing cotton or canvas or anything cotton based or polyester. You want wool based, fleece, some of that stuff. Footwear is a big one. So I like to wear. I have these muck boots that I like to wear a lot of times for land trapping because they're, rubber and they don't leave any scent. But there are times I do not wear those because they do not have good stability, and they don't have good sensitivity. And so I run traps out along the Snake River Canyon too. And there have been times I used to wear my muck boots to do that, and then there was a time I was doing that, and I was trying to set a snare right on the edge of the canyon where coyotes were coming around this sagebrush, and I lost my footing and about went over the edge. And so, I think pay attention to footwear. If you have to climb anything, if you have to go around rocky areas, side hills, steep side hills, any kind of hiking, even if it's hiking on flat land, muck boots are not the way to go because they don't provide much support. It's really easy to turn your ankle in one of those. If you're just driving set to set, muck boots are great, and even I've trapped out of cowboy boots and stuff too. But if you're gonna have to do any kind of hiking and you need some sensitivity and you need support, make sure you're switching your boots out. I carry a couple pairs of boots in my Jeep. I wear my cowboy boots to go out to where I'm trapping, but then I throw on my muck boots if I'm in certain places, and other places I throw on my Danners, my hiking boots. So, it's better to maybe leave a little scent behind you didn't want to, but be safe than it is to, you know, worry so much about scent that you're throwing on boots that aren't stable for you. So footwear is important. So next one is vehicle maintenance. I'm not a mechanic, but I know a little bit about my engines in my Jeep, and I carry some things with me. I carry some extra oil. I carry some antifreeze. You know, I have jumper cables. I have a basic toolkit, you know, with sockets that will fit all the stuff on my Jeep engine. You know, I mean, I have a tow chain in case I need to get towed or someone needs to tow me. I have a charger, you know, like a independent charger to charge it if it dies on me. You know, and so you don't have to be a mechanic, but have some of those basic things in your vehicle, especially if you're going to be way out, far away into the wilds. A lot of the places I trap are ranch lands, so I'm not usually too far away from help if I need it. But there are times I get out of ways when I'm predator calling and stuff, and even deer hunting, and it's good to have that stuff on hand. So, you know, have some things: jumper cables, tow strap, charger, some basic tools, some of your basic fluids for your engine. Have those on hand. It's a smart thing to do. Next is letting people know where you are. Again, so in the summer, you know, end of the summer, my wife and I hop in our car and we go for a drive, and I show her all the ranches where I'm going to be trapping. We don't drive out where I'm trapping, but it's like, okay, this is ranch number 1. There's property that way, there's property that way, and go up the road right here is where you get to the other property, you know. And so she knows kind of where I trap. So make sure somebody knows where you trap, you know. So if you don't come home, they know where to start looking. The landowners all know where I trap too, and I make sure my wife has a list of all the landowners and their phone numbers too. So I have an emergency box in my Jeep. It's got a wool blanket. It's got some rope. It's got a first aid kit. It's got extra gloves, extra hat. It's got a really warm shell to an old duck hunting coat. That's a great windbreaker, but also even just by itself over a t-shirt is pretty darn warm. But it's not very thick. It's just a shell, and so it rolls up real well in there. It's got a few other things. It's got some signaling. I've got some signaling flares and toilet paper and an e-blanket, and, you know. But anyway, it's good to have something like that in your Jeep I got some MREs in there, matches. Because here's the deal: I could get stuck anywhere in southern Idaho. I could get stuck anywhere, and I could spend the night safely and warm, and have something to eat. So, you know, I think that's something that's important to have in your vehicle. Even if you're not intending to be anywhere that you could get into trouble, you just never know, you know. So I always have that in my Jeep. I think a compass is a good idea. I don't, you know, today with phones, everybody's got a compass on their iPhone. But, you know, if something goes wrong with your iPhone, or you're in trouble and you run out of juice on your phone, you know, which is another thing to have in your Jeep is your charger for your phone. But having a good old-fashioned compass can make a difference. I got lost one time in a place that I can't believe I got lost. I got more turned around than I got lost. But it's really easy to get turned around the desert because it looks flat. But, you know, it's not. And I got out into this place, and for some reason I could not find the road I needed to get on to get out. And it was making me crazy. And I was down below. I didn't have any real good landmarks. And my compass wouldn't work. And my phone, for whatever, was getting really bad service. And so I ended up taking out my old school compass and my map. And I was able to get a bead on a couple things on the horizon that I knew what they were. So I knew where I was. I just couldn't find the road, if that makes sense. I was like micro lost. I was in a small area and I couldn't find the stupid road that I needed to get on to get out. And so I just shot an intersection Off those 2 points, it showed me right where I was. Then I knew the road was to the west of me, so I got over to the west till I hit the road and was able to get out. Knowing how to do basic things like that with a map and compass, that, you know, will you ever use them? Probably not in this day and age, but if you have to use them, knowing how to do it is a good deal. So a compass and a map for the area you're in, it's a good idea. I think the last thing I'd say is just have a good attitude and both eyes open. Pay attention to what's going on around you. A funny story, me and my buddy Johnny were out on the canyon rim one time checking coyote traps, and there was this place where the coyotes were coming past a fence, and there was a trail about 5 feet in from the edge of the canyon. The Snake River Canyon is deep. For those of you that aren't from Idaho, it's where Evel Knievel thought he was going to jump over it in 1974. Anyway, it's deep. It's very deep. Anyway, so there's this trail going about 5-6 feet off the rim of the canyon, and there's this old gate laying down on its side and some other junk, and then there's this right against the canyon rim is this old feed trough, and I wanted to narrow the distance between the feed trough and this junk pile, right? So I was going to put a snare right there. So I reach over and I grab this old gate, and I pull on it and it won't pull, so I start to jerk on it. I jerk on it twice and I stop, and I realize my back's towards the canyon rim and I'm jerking on this old gate made out of old rotten wood. And there's nothing that would have stopped me from falling off, stumbling off back off the edge of the canyon if that wood would have broken or something. So I stopped myself and went, oh wait, maybe that's not a good idea. And so I went to the other end and grabbed the other end gate and just flipped it over, right? But just you know, if we all counted how many times we could have died doing this stuff, those of us that have been doing this stuff since we were kids, it's staggering that any of us are still alive. But learning to pay attention to your surroundings and being aware of your surroundings, include, you know, everything from your footing, where you're putting your feet, where you're placing your feet, to, you know, the temperature, what the temperature could become by the end of that day when you're out there and tired. You know, having your spare tire, your jack, obviously in your Jeep, I didn't mention that, but I always have a spare tire, set of chains, and a jack. You know, being aware when you're setting your traps, being aware of your surroundings, you know, I mean, just all that stuff, just being aware. And the easiest way to stay aware is to take your time. Obviously, you don't want to just lollygag along because you got stuff to do. You got to get sets out. But when you get in such a hurry that you stop paying attention to what's going on around you, that's when you're going to get hurt. Okay? So when I say take your time, I mean do one thing at a time, you know, and pay attention to what you're doing instead of getting in such a hurry and thinking 3 steps ahead and your mind's not present to what's happening right then, and that's when accidents happen. Okay? So that's counseling, we call that mindfulness. So being mindful, being present to the moment, being fully present to what you're doing at every minute, instead of thinking about where you got to get to next and when you're going to get lunch and do I have enough dip to last me till the end of the day or whatever, you know. So just being present to what you're doing, paying attention to your surroundings. All right, that's all I got. Remember, God is great, guns are good, freedom is precious. See you in my next video.